I guess what is the June 9th hybrid meeting of the City of Mercer Island Utility Board. Uh, we go ahead and call it to order here at 5:03 p.m. Um, do we have any public appearances, Jason?
No public appearances. You want me to take a roll real quick, Vice Chair?
Yep,
Okay. Chair Thomas is absent this evening. Vice Chair Milton,
here.
Board Member Laird,
You're on mute.
she's here. Board Member Lichty,
Sorry, here. Here.
Board Member Olson,
Here.
Board Member Bertlin is absent this evening, and then Board Member Poor
Is
is here as well.
joining momentarily. Yep.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We have a
Okay.
quorum.
All right. So I think the first item on the regular business agenda was the uh, approval of the minutes from the prior action. Has everyone had a chance to read through the minutes?
I have, and I have moved that we adopt the minutes from the March meeting.
All right, is there a
Second.
second? All right, so moved and seconded. Any discussion, any changes or any notes on them? All right, hearing none. Let's go ahead and all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, all opposed? All right, so minutes approved unanimously. Next item on our list here is new board member welcome introductions. So the new board member is Ms. Joy Lichty. Welcome to the board. I guess you were appointed here a couple months ago now, right?
Yes, I think my first meeting would have been April, but the April and May were canceled, as you all know. So
Got
yeah,
it.
thank you.
Well, if you could maybe potentially introduce yourself, and then after that we'll go around and kind of introduce ourselves as well, so that you can understand who else is on the board with you.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, Joy Lichty. I have been on Mercer Island since mostly since 2001. We were gone for a couple, 2, 3 years away and living in Bothell, but came back. And so my raised my kids here. My career has been
Yeah, I think you locked up there, Joy. We'll give her a second to reconnect there. Oh, you're back.
great. Okay, I'm just gonna stay off the Wi-Fi. Uh,
Fair enough.
I don't know how much I locked up, but
You had
anyways,
finished mentioning that you had raised your family here and that since
yep,
2001.
yep, sure, and still have a couple in the nest here. Actually,
Ah,
one's at IMS and one's at the high school. But anyways, and my professional life has been spent with the many electric utilities here in the Pacific Northwest. Um, if you can think of it, I probably worked there at some point. Started with Puget Power, so that dates me.
yeah.
It's now Puget Sound Energy. But most of those years was Seattle City Light. The most recent utility I worked with was Jefferson County PUD, which does have a water business. So I did get familiar with the water business working with Jefferson. And so, yeah, I'm just really, really pleased to be here and work with you all, and hope I can contribute in some small way.
Great. So we can go around and introduce ourselves just because of the way it works on my screen. Craig, would you go first?
I'm Craig Olson. I'm a retired city engineer and public works director, and I've have returned to the island as well after being gone for about 20 years in Olympia, where we were advocates for before the legislature, and now served on the Planning Commission as well as the Open Space Conservancy Trust, and really excited to be on this board.
Nice to meet you.
Meredith?
Yeah, I'm a retired attorney, worked in-house at several companies, um, lived on Mercer Island for 29 years, which I can hardly believe, raised my kids here, um, and we're still here, and I am just starting my second term with the um, utility board.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Geraldine?
Hi, thanks so much. I'm Jerry Poor, and I do have a day job working in the transportation field. I'm a planner by training as opposed to an engineer, and I'm relatively new to this board, having served on the open space board for several terms.
Great. Nice to meet you.
You too, Joy. Thank you.
All right, and I'm Steve Milton. I'm the vice chair currently. Professionally, I work as a CEO and CTO for a local colocation data center and fiber broadband provider. And I've lived on the island now for 16 years, I think, this summer. So, and I think I've been on the utility board for probably 12 plus of that. So, um, uh, and then our one of the missing members, our chair, Brian, he'll have to introduce himself next time, I guess. But Jason, do you want to go through and introduce any of your team there?
Sure. If there's other cameras on real quick. I'll just say, so I'm just getting around the chief operations. I've been with the city uh, for quite some time. 2005, I started my career in the field. Came back. I've been overseeing the public works department since 2015. So, with internally, we've had some internal movement within our organization. So you'll start to see some different faces come in and out of these meetings as we move forward. But this evening, the first person on my list is Carson. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, Carson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carson Hornsby. I'm a management analyst with the Public Works Department. Been with the department for a few months now, so looking forward to working with this group.
Alan.
Yes, I'm Alan Hunter. I've actually changed roles, as Jason said, we had some role changes. So I'm actually now the senior utilities program manager. So I'm working with the CIP and engineering. Been with the city for just a little over 8 years.
Francesca.
I'm the Public Works Senior Admin. I'm the one that sends you all these emails and the agenda packets. And if you have any questions about the utility board, you can direct them to me.
Kelly.
Hi, Kelly Hildy, Deputy Director of Public Works, and I lead the capital and engineering group here at the city.
And then Ian.
Hi, I'm Ian Powell. I've been with the city for about 4 years. I'm the street engineer, mostly focused on paving and street rehab, but I'm also involved with utility work.
Thanks, everybody. And then just Vice Chair Milton, we also have Debbie Bertlin, who was appointed to the utility board last month as well. So she couldn't join us this evening. She was traveling with her daughter, but she'll be at the next meeting. So she's been appointed as well. So she can introduce herself the next go round.
Perfect. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda for tonight is the chair and vice chair elections. So I believe the way that works is technically the staff liaison runs the, is that how you recall it? I was just reading through the bylaws and that was what I stumbled across, but I don't suppose it matters too much, but
Yeah, so historically it's by nomination, and the person receiving the nomination, they accept it or don't accept it if they don't want to serve. And then we take a quick roll call. It's with the utility board. Historically it's been pretty painless, but that's the way it rolls. We elect the chair first, and the chair can then appoint the vice chair. So happy to open up the table for any nominations for the chair of the utility board for the next year.
So I understood Brian Thomas to say that he would be interested in continuing as chair. if we were so inclined. And I certainly think he's been doing a fine job and would continue to nominate him, or would nominate him to continue in that role, barring some other person who feels strongly about being nominated as well. So I'm nominating him.
There a second?
Yep,
Second that.
seconded.
Who was the second? Sorry, I missed it.
Craig, yeah. We're going to put
Perfect.
Craig there. He said it first. I just said it louder.
Any other nominations? All right. All in favor of Mr. Brian Thomas being the chair of the utility board, say aye.
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 And I know based on his
opposed?
email, he was happy to accept. So
He was very, I had a conversation with him ahead of time too, when he told me he couldn't make the meeting, and he was definitely interested in continuing to serve, but definitely wanted to open up the table or the floor to others that wanted to serve if that was the case. But we will let him know that he has been appointed the chair of the utility board for another run.
Elected.
Elected, thank you.
yes.
Thank you. Since he's not here to run the vice chair elections, I guess I will run it on his behalf, unless Steve, you want to do it. Either way works.
Bylaws, man. The bylaws say you get to do it.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. Oh man. All right. Any nominations for the vice chair?
Well, I haven't had a discussion with Steve about this, but I also think he's doing a fine job as vice chair. And if he were so inclined to accept, I would nominate him to continue in the role for another year.
I would accept if no one else is interested. It is definitely, it doesn't take much work or effort in that sense. Brian does most of all of it, right? So if anyone else is interested in working that position, it's certainly happy to let anyone else share Brian's burden.
Seeing as you're willing to serve, I'd be fine with it. And I'm also not familiar with what goes into it, but I think it sounds, I'd be fine with that. Yeah.
Assuming that's a second then from board.
I'll second it.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other nominations? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, Vice Chair Milton, it's your show again. Congratulations.
Okay. The musical chairs didn't move. All right. So I think the next thing on our list is the water supply line project update.
Yep, so I'll have Carson jump on the screen here. We've got a quick slide deck. So the water supply line project is ramping up. We're nearing construction, which is exciting news. Big project on the horizon. So we just have a quick slide deck to give the utility board an update on where we're at. Open up the floor for any Q&A. We've got it broken down in a couple different sort of sections of the project. It's on a long slide deck, so if you have questions along the way, please chime in and ask. It's probably easier to take them as they come rather than at the end. So with that, Carson, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Are you guys able to see the presentation in full screen on your end?
Yeah.
No, it's still in the app mode. Yeah.
Might need to disconnect from my monitors. Been having some issues. One moment here.
While you're there we go. Nope.
All right, there, that should work now. Okay. Good evening, Utility Board. My name is Carson Hornsby, Management Analyst with the Public Works Department. I'm here tonight to cover this next agenda item, which is an update on the water supply pipeline project. Jason Kentner, Chief of Operations, may also chime in here on a few slides. And so we've got a small presentation tonight to bring you up to date on the new supply line. So with that, let's take a look at the agenda. It's been several months since the last update on this project was given to the utility board. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a recap of some background information and talk about some of the goals of the project on the next slide in the project summary. We'll talk about some updates that have been made to the project timeline, and then talk about coordination with Seattle Public Utilities and the Shorewood Apartments. And then we'll wrap up the slides by talking about next steps with the project delivery method and the WashStat variance and SEPA review. And then we'll have some time at the end of the presentation for questions. Moving into the background information, you may recall in April 2024, there was a leak that was discovered on SPU's Mercer Island pipeline, which is their water supply line. This leak caused a water emergency that lasted for several months and severely limited the island's water supply until repairs were able to be completed by SPU in August later that year. And so in response to the water emergency, the city began evaluating alternative options to replace this supply line with a more resilient and earthquake resistant water supply line owned by the city. In October 2024, the City Council greenlit the project by authorizing design and construction of a new water supply line in the 2025 to 2030 capital improvement plan. And then fast forward to May 2025, the City Council approved Scarcella Brothers as the general contractor and construction manager for the project through an alternative delivery method. And then most recently in January 2026, earlier this year, the council approved a contract with RH2 to develop phase 2 design and permitting for the project. So over the past several months, the project team has been working through design and planning for construction. So on this slide, we'll cover a summary of the project. There will be over 5,000 feet of new supply pipeline installed on the islands. This is represented by this orange line here. Part of my screen's cut off by the videos of other attendees here, so I can't see the full thing, but it starts over kind of in the near the boat launch on the east end of the island, goes up Southeast 36th Street and down through Southeast Gallagher Hill Road. And then also as part of installation of this new supply line, there will be about 1,500 feet of asbestos cement water main on Gallagher Hill Road removed in order to make room for the new supply line. Also, as part of the project, there are a number of street improvements planned along Gallagher Hill Road, Southeast 40th Street from 90th to 93rd Avenues, and then Southeast 36th Street from Gallagher Hill Road over to East Mercer Way. There's a variety of improvements that include new curbs, sidewalks, bike lanes, street lighting, and asphalt overlays, and new street markings as well. Also, as part of this project, portions of the existing Seattle Public Utilities owned supply line will be decommissioned, and also another portion will be transferred to the city. So this yellow portion here on the graphic on your screen is the portion of SPU's line that will be taken out of service. And then the new supply line here in orange will meet up with the existing line on this red segment here. And that segment is proposed to be transferred over to the city to be owned and operated by the city of Mercer Island once the new supply line comes online. Moving into the project timeline, as you know, design work has been underway since October of last year, and that's anticipated to be complete next month in July. Later on this summer in August, construction of the water improvements are expected to begin, and that will last through next year in April. And then also in spring of 2027, March is the expected date of construction improvements to begin. And those are expected to last through winter of the next year. So construction's planned to be substantially complete by December 2027.
A couple of things on this slide real quick before you move on. So just to note, we've talked about this before, both with the council and the utility board. We are using an alternative service delivery process for this project. So we have a GCCM project that's underway. So the design team and the contractor are both under contract working on the final touches of this project before we head into construction. Construction was originally scheduled to begin earlier in the summer. However, some complications with the King County project with the Walsh as the contractor currently on site. They've run into some delays, and then compounded by the World Cup schedule that's set to take off. We've made some decisions internally to delay the beginning of the construction project here to one, let Walsh get out of the roadway, and also to not further impact traffic with construction impacts during what we anticipate to be a pretty busy time with the World Cup. So just a heads up on that's why you see that date in August sort of sliding out versus what you saw in earlier months of summer. So that's what's driving those time frames.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to some updates with coordination with Seattle Public Utilities. The city's been in pretty close contact with SPU throughout the design phase as we need to connect up to the existing SPU line and transfer some of that line over to the city. So there's been lots of communication, and the city recently submitted the 90% design package for review to SPU, and the project team's currently working on addressing SPU's feedback. And then SPU also formally notified the city in April earlier this year of their intent to transfer segments 3B and 4 of the Mercer Island pipeline to the city. That's their name for the water supply line. So this transfer of the pipeline and also potentially a small real estate parcel as well is going to require an amendment to the city's water supply contract. And the city of Mercer Island, we're currently waiting on cost estimates and other necessary draft amendments to the contract from SPU. And I believe we're expecting that over the next month or two. And then the new water supply contract will, once we have that work underway, it's expected to be reviewed by the Seattle City Council in early 2027. And then once that's approved by City of Seattle, it'll come back for review and approval by Mercer Island City Council.
So a couple additional pieces here. So there is, although the existing transmission line, the Seattle transmission line is the main asset, the main Seattle public utility asset that's being decommissioned. There are some other components, some Seattle infrastructure on the island. So this amendment will basically transfer all of the assets, the main pipe, as well as some of the other small pieces to the city. And that point of demarcation will actually be at the boat launch. So their service will stop there moving forward. And then I think it's also important to note for the board, just to remind you all, as part of the contract with SPU, there's reopeners in that contract. And the contract was, that reopener was finalized last year. As part of that work, there was a refund that came back to the city to the tune of, I want to say it was like $1.8 million that goes to the water fund. So we have some additional fund balance there set aside for the transfer of these assets and sort of truing up this contract amendment as it moves through the process over the course of the next year. So sort of those pieces are in the background as well. Conversations on both sides have been promising. I don't anticipate any issues with it. It's just a matter of working out the fine details associated with it.
All right. As part of construction of the new supply line, the Shorewood Apartments on Mercer Island will become a wholesale customer of the city of Mercer Island. They're kind of an anomaly right now in that they're the only wholesale customer of SPU on the island, and typically want to make sure that customers are served by their own local municipalities. So it makes sense to transfer them over to the city's distribution system along with construction of the new line. So once that happens, the existing AC water main for Shorewood will be abandoned from 92nd Avenue to Southeast 36th Street. And Shorewood will be connected into the city's system at 2 new master meter locations on Southeast 36th Street at intersections with 88th Avenue and 98th Avenue. There's been some coordination picking up with Shorewood. In April 2026, earlier this year, staff notified Shorewood about the project and the timeline for construction. And then we've also set up a recurring meeting that happens monthly through completion of construction of the new line. So we have an open line of dialogue with them to make sure that they're aware of all project updates and make sure any issues are addressed well in advance of construction.
So Carson, hold on for a second. Board Member Lair, you had a question?
Yeah, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit. So they're a wholesale customer, and I see they're going to have 2 new master meters. So they'll buy wholesale, and then they'll provide it to their apartment members or apartment owners or whatever their condo owners, and then bill them separately. Is that how that will work?
Jason might want to give an explanation of this one, but there will be a rate change from SPU since they'll be served by the city. There will be a rate change. They'll transfer over likely to the city's multifamily rates, and then Jason, would you like to go into a little more detail on how those rates are broken out for people who live there?
So currently they're currently a direct customer of Seattle Public Utilities. So, and they have their current rate with Seattle Public Utilities is at I wouldn't say it's a true wholesaler rate. They have a modified rate with Seattle Public Utilities. It is different than our multifamily rate. And there is a difference there. I will say that is something that we are aware of. We will be, as we're meeting with Shorewood to talk through that. The plan will be to get them on the city's multifamily rate. I don't know if it'll happen in one fell swoop. I don't know if it'll happen at a sort of a sequence time, depending on what those cost differences are. That's something that we're working through as part of the transition. However, it is different than they are currently being served by Seattle Public Utilities. And with this new supply line, they will not be able, it won't be an option. So they will have to become a direct customer of ours. So that is the plan moving forward. That's why we are meeting with them monthly, but then yes, they in turn parse out those costs to their residents.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. So last up, we have a next step slide. So as you know, the city is using a general contractor, construction manager, project delivery method. And there are a couple of updates happening in the next few months. The city is currently negotiating with the general contractor, construction manager, Scarcella Brothers, for the guaranteed maximum price for the project. And then once that GMP is agreed upon, staff plan to return to the city council next month in July for approval of the max construction award. There's also, I think Jason's going to cover these next couple bullets, but there's a review variance process open with WashDOT, and we're hoping to get some information on updates to the utility franchise by next month in order to move forward to the project or on the project. And then there's also a review for the State Environmental Policy Act in progress right now. The city's received comments from Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Snoqualmie Tribe. And the city's addressed the Department of Fish and Wildlife's comments, but is currently working on the Snoqualmie Tribe's comments.
Yeah, so just to touch on those pieces real quick. So with the point of demarcation coming at the boat launch, that does cross over washed property. It's not all city right of way where that pipeline will rest. So we have to get washed approval for that process where the pipe goes. There's a utility variance process that's in play as part of that permitting requirement. We anticipate that authorization, it's in the next week or two is what our project meeting say this morning. So that's great news. On the SEPA comments, we did receive two formal comments, one from Department of Fish and Wildlife, which we've addressed and we've covered that. So that is done. And then I just found out this afternoon, it appears that we have a resolution for the Snoqualmie tribe comments as well. Just for context, the Department of Fish and Wildlife had some questions over one of the critical areas that the project rolls is working through over by the city hall site, and then the Snoqualmie tribe comments were in relation to archaeological elements of the project. So it looks like we've got things lined up, and both of those comments will be addressed, and so we anticipate that determination of non-significance for the SEPA to be issued in the near future as well. So those are our big permitting requirements to get this thing into construction, which is aligning with that August start date in the near future. So all good news.
All right, and that's all we have for you tonight. So we can open it up for questions and discussion from the board. Thank you.
Go ahead, Craig. I'll go second.
Is all the water construction portion of the project going to be done? Is that going to be the first thing turned on, if you will, before the road construction's done? Or are you guys going to wait until the whole project's complete before it's all live? Or maybe it's a lot more complicated than that.
That's a great question. There's a couple things in play. One is, I'll speak candidly. The part of the Walsh, the contractor that's currently under construction on the sewer side of the house for King County, they should have been out of our hair long ago. But they ran into some construction challenges along the way, and they didn't do pressure testing prior to repairing the roadway, and so that's why they're out there doing more work now. Not our project, full disclosure, not our project, but that is something that, in any construction project, you want to sequence restoration of the roadway after you've confirmed everything is operational on the pipe side. So we'll make sure that takes place. In terms of turning the water on and the transfer of water from Seattle to Mercer, that's going to come down to the timing associated with, the contract and our the DOH approval to move forward with it. So everything will be up and operational, tested, ready to go, but the actual transfer of service won't happen until everything is finalized and signed before we actually transfer the service over officially. That's the plan.
Okay, thank you.
And then you mentioned, Jason, you mentioned about $1.8 million refund to the city during
Yeah.
the SPU renegotiation or a contract opener. What was the
Correct.
nature of that?
So as part of the contract amending process that took place last year, essentially the rate structure for Seattle Public Utilities, it was modified slightly through the process, and so they actually over collected because it was based off the old rate component, and Seattle Public Utilities, they do their rate study in 3-year process, like a 3-year window, so they do a true up exercise. So essentially, their true up was they over collected, and so they had to refund the utilities, and so Mercer's contribution was approximately 1.8. Don't quote me on the exact amount. Approximately 1.8 that went back to the water fund. So that will be used for water infrastructure improvements on the island. So if it's not all 1.8 is not needed for the transfer of assets, which I'm hoping it's not, but we don't know the cost of the assets yet, then that will be used for fund balance for other water capital work.
Got it. Thank you.
Which will in turn help our rates, right? More money into the fund, less money out of the rates.
Any other questions about the presentation? All right. Thanks, Carson. just because of the way the timing worked out before we adjourn, it's going to come back around to late introduction from Councilmember Waker. We went through and did a series of introductions for the new board member, Joy Lichty. If you could give a quick intro, Wendy.
Yeah, hi, you guys. I heard all that. I was just having technical difficulties because I couldn't get work fast enough. So yeah, I appreciate Joy, you joining the board. And I was on the utility board 15 years ago. And that was really fun. And that motivated me to run for city council, where I've served for the last decade or so. So appreciate Jason and his entire team keeping everything going. And this board's really challenging work with the planning and the rates. Oversight and the recommendations to council, because the work you guys do here certainly feeds up to council. We don't have to spend days and days and days of staff time in council deliberations reviewing your math, because you always do it really well. So and really big projects, the sewer lake line, the water replacement, taking over SPUs, like these are big, bold, expensive legacy projects. So appreciate that. And my background is in utilities. I worked at PSC for many years. So Joy, that was fun to hear that. I was in community relations. And now I work for a company doing recycling and organics collection and trying to keep stuff out of a landfill. So I'm a utility nerd, and that's where I got my start. And that's what I love to do. And public-private partnerships, like these vendors doing the hard work are doing it with really tough economic conditions right now. So it's impressive. They can be on time and on schedule and on budget as much as possible. And delays for FIFA, I think everyone's sort of holding their breath to see what happens here in the next month. I'm personally leaving town for a week, but other than that,
I'm gonna go to a game.
yeah, thank you guys for your service, and thanks to Jason and his team for all the incredible staff work as always.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so the last thing on the agenda, Jason, was discussion of July site tour dates.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually sort of blend a couple things, and Wendy did a great foreshadow of what's to come in the fall. So we don't have the work plan in front of you, but the July meeting is not a formal meeting. Usually in July, we try and get the board out to the construction sites to actually go meet with the crews, see some construction projects in play. Um, we will send out a doodle poll and find out when we'll provide a couple different opportunities. For new board members, it's a great opportunity to go see some of our major infrastructure and assets within the systems. If you've been on the board for a while, like Steve, sometimes it's a good refresher to go out and see some stuff, and they've changed over those years that you've been here. So I will say it's normally in July that we do that. However, with the World Cup, the city has made the decision to not do a lot of construction activity, at least during the World Cup period, trying to limit the impacts of traffic. So I say that because it may slide into maybe late July or early August. And I know travel plans can be complicated in the summer. So we'll send out a few dates. We like to get you in groups of three, no more than three, so we don't violate any OPMA requirements. But we'll send out some dates and opportunities, and we'll get a little tour. They range from, they're normally like 2 or 3 hours long, and we try and get you to a couple different types of projects out there, whether it's water project, sewer project, transportation, because even that has utility tie-in. So we'll send that information out, but just be aware, be on the lookout. I'll take the moment to look ahead to the fall. So the fall is when we get into, and this is a budget development year. And so we are in the process right now of fine tuning the draft CIP for the next biennium, which will drive the rate conversation and discussion in coordination with, the O&M side of the house, as well as some of our other, outside components that we can't control, like the cost of water from wholesaler from Seattle and the cost of sewer service and things like that. So the September meeting, we will likely perhaps try and do in person, and we're going to try and mimic what we did last go around. We try and bring you all 4 utilities at once and just do the introduction conversation and get everything out in front of you. Maybe have some, and maybe we'll talk, but I was thinking we would do that meeting in person, and then the October meeting would be online and dive into deeper, but maybe we have to actually inverse that. But that's what's coming September, October, dedicated to rate conversations. We leave November sort of open to have a third meeting of the minds if necessary for a rate conversation. We're ultimately looking towards that December timeframe for council adoption for the budget. So we've got to get our work done in September, October, November. So it's coming your way. We also, in the background, we have two two plans being updated. We have the water system plan and the general sewer plan, both being updated. We have some GMA requirements that are impacting the models on both the water and the sewer side, and what necessary infrastructure upgrades are going to be on the horizon. So that work's underway now. Those projects, those plans were both set to be adopted this year. They've both slid out into the early next year. But there's work that the board will have to do and the council will have to do this fall to meet an early 2027 target for both of those plans in coordination with the GMA stuff. So that's what's coming. We'll continue to give some updates on the water system plan, some other things as well, but that's your fall right there with those meetings. Meredith?
Jason, I'm just going to jump in because I know you're trying to get out of here as well. For the last couple of meetings, we were going to be allegedly looking at a contract amendment. And what's up with that? Is that still being figured out? Are we ever going to see it? Maybe we
Yeah,
don't.
so good question. So that you're referring to the PSE contract that's currently being reviewed by legal teams. So I can't bring it to you guys until our legal team has a chance to review it and provide comments, but that'll probably be in the fall as well. It's being worked on with the attorneys in the background. So once it's ready for the utility board review, we'll bring it back, but it's sort of on a standstill until it gets out of the logjam with the attorneys.
Okay.
Other questions?
Just to clarify,
Exciting.
Jason, you said that you'll probably take at least a couple of groups, maybe 2 or 3 groups out for the tours. Okay.
Yep. And we'll send out different dates and times. So we try and break it up. It's like a morning session or an afternoon session, a couple different options for each of them. So
Yeah. Okay. I'm crossing my fingers that because when you said late July, early August, I know I'm gone for a week in late July, early August. So I'm hoping there will be a date that works for me.
it's always the challenge, right? Summer celebration hits in early July for us, and so it's a mad dash for staff. And then you get to like after summer celebration and people start to leave town, and August tends to be everyone's a different direction. So we'll send out multiple dates and times, and hopefully one works for everybody.
It's great.
All right, well, it's 5:45. Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. We'll call that good then. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, everybody. We'll send you a poll, and we'll see you in September.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.